My lords, your excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the board of directors of LIFE and all of my committee colleagues, it gives me great pleasure in welcoming all of you to this wonderful hall. Lord Palumbo was telling me that the ceiling was commissioned by King Charles I in 1612. So the ceiling is 400 years old, which is quite impressive. What's more impressive to me, at least, was that King Charles, later in his life, was beheaded down the stairs on the way out. So hopefully there will be less dramatic events this evening. A special welcome to our spouses and partners with whom we are delighted to share this celebration of our collective accomplishments, especially given how they have put up with us, our long hours, our travel schedules, our foul moods when we get home. So welcome to our spouses and partners and friends. Before I begin, I wanted to pay homage and thanks to a giant of Lebanese finance, George Audi, founder and honorary chairman of Bank Audi, an early backer of LIFE, who passed away just yesterday in Beirut. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and loved ones in this time of sorrow. What brings us together this evening is quite powerful. Shared roots, a shared journey of emigration, adversity, resilience, achievement in the field of finance, and a shared vision of solidarity. We have among our ranks partners at Lazard and Goldman Sachs, vice chairman at UBS and Merrill Lynch, members of the executive boards of Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Credit Suisse, global heads of businesses at Nomura, Deutsche Bank, Citi, several billion-dollar fund managers, private equity executives, venture capitalists, among many others. The influence of this group is significant, especially given the size of our tiny country. If properly harnessed, this influence can serve as an important pillar for Lebanon and for its diaspora. LIFE aims to serve as the platform from which we can work towards this goal, enabling us to channel our energies and influence towards achieving our three objectives. I think they're just on my left behind me. Number one, connect, i.e. establish ever closer bonds among ourselves. Number two, help the next generation succeed in finance. Number three, act as a pillar and a policy partner for Lebanon and for its institutions. Many of you have asked what the initial impulse was for LIFE. In fact, this is not such a novel idea. Many of us over the years, over dinners, lunches, holidays, were talking about creating something like this. So this is not particularly new or original. I think what was original really was the way we executed it and how many people got involved in its execution. Over 110 committee members were active in the last 2 years in various country committees or functional committees. Some people asked sort of what was kind of the reason for my motivation here, and I have to say, in terms of a personal testimonial, it was in 1986 when I started my career at Salomon Brothers in New York. As a young associate, I was approached by a young fellow vice president and asked me whether I would join the Wall Street Jewish League. And I said to myself, Raphael must rhyme with Israel, so he must think I'm from that community. So I didn't say anything. I heard what he had to say, and it was spectacular. What was on offer was nothing short of spectacular in terms of access, in terms of networking, in terms of fundraising, and so on and so forth. And I was obviously quite envious of the ability of this community to interact and help each other. At the time, there were 8 or 10 of us on Wall Street. We kind of knew each other. We didn't need such an association, but it stayed in my head. And in 2006, during the summer war, I was at Credit Suisse. The CEO of Credit Suisse asked me, we got some people left in the country. I'm going to charter a plane out of Syria, find out who of our employees are in Lebanon. So I start an email trail, which ends up having 40 or 50 names. So we end up having a distribution list of 60 names of young Lebanese at Credit Suisse in London alone. So I'm like, wow, this is quite something. I was just aware of eight or nine of them. Then there was room on the plane. Within a week, we knew there were very few of our people in Beirut, so we asked other banks. And Barclays, there were 30, and Morgan Stanley, another 30. And before we knew it, it was in the hundreds. And this is where it hit me. I said, this is incredible. We had 600-700 names within a few days. And a couple years later, we started life. Exactly to the day, 2 years ago, we had a meeting of about 40 of us. We were debating what this should be all about. And frankly, it was crystal clear within a couple hours. We wrote an email to each other about the summary. I remember Camille was there, and many of you were there, and that was really the story of how we got started. The journey so far is only less than 2 years old. I feel like we're just at the beginning of our story. So far, 700 members worldwide, and I just want to emphasize, this is not about numbers. This is not about just getting as many people as possible. This is about people who have a shared vision. Number two, we have now 3 people full-time here in London. We have offices in London. We have, as I said, committees set up across London, Paris, Geneva, Dubai, Beirut, and New York. We have an up and running website since day one, a database where we can interconnect. We have a governance in place. Board elections have just happened, as most of you know, recipients of our emails. The chairman, myself, can only serve for 2 years. It's renewable for 2 more years, and then I gotta go. More than 30 Connect networking events, 80 speaker series events with people like Xavier Olay, Walid Shama, Samir Brico here also was kind enough to join us on one of these occasions. We've had a number of junior events where we connected up to 40, 50 junior students and analysts and associates to the heads of HRs of all the banks here in the UK. We will do the same in other locations. We've awarded 7 scholarships in the last year. We will double that number this year with your help this evening. We will double that number, i.e. we'll award 10 to 14 new scholarships this year. That's the target, and then hopefully stay on an aggressive course. We mentor 24 young Lebanese, and so on and so forth. I will not do a whole laundry list of what we've done. We will leave our last 2 newsletters for you to take on your way out, which detail all this. The latest news, some of you may not know, is we are about to launch in Sao Paulo, whereas many of you know there are more Lebanese bankers in Sao Paulo than all of the people combined in the other locations. We have just been granted tax-free status in the US. This is complementing our tax-exempt status already in the UK, in France, in Switzerland, and in Lebanon. And the third thing is Samir Asaf, CEO of Global Banking and Markets, will speak at our senior speaker series next month here in London. So watch your email inbox. I wanted to thank our early institutional backers. We don't have any backer that is greater than 8 or 9% of our funding, but nevertheless, I want to thank the very earliest backers, the Central Bank of Lebanon in the person of Riyad Salami, Bank Audi, Banque Libano-Française, Fransa Bank, Banque Med, among others. I also want to thank our advisory board members, Their Excellencies Raymond Audi and Adnan Kassar, both of whom were unable to make it at the last minute. Lord Peter Palumbo, present here this evening, Samir Brico, thank you very much for all you do, Ray Irani and Carlos Hassan. I also wanted to welcome our ambassador, our most active and helpful ambassador, Inam Asairan. Thank you very much for your continued support. While we have restricted our invitations this evening to Lebanese international finance executives and their guests and spouses, I wanted to acknowledge 3 prominent guests of life this evening, Messieurs Wafiq Saeed, Mr. Ayman Asfari, and Mr. Naji Nahas. Thank you for joining us. Back to life. While we've had a good start, let's not kid ourselves. There is so much more to do. Business networking, helping each other out, fundraising for each other, awareness of our programs for the kids, Connect, policy, etc. We have a policy arm which we will activate in the next 12 months. On a personal note, it's been an incredible privilege for me to have served as the first chairman of Life. I've been truly enriched by getting to know so many amazing industry colleagues and reconnecting with others. I'm looking forward to building on this together. In closing, I would like to borrow a famous quote Lebanon is not a country, it is an idea of freedom and a dream of pluralism. Let's continue to work together in some small way to make this a reality. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the evening.